Hi, everyone. This is Tran Bowie in Roswell. So we are entering week 2 of in-home learning, online classes, and teleschooling. I actually have 2 children who are in the Fulton County School District. And so parents, I'm with you. I know what's going on. And teachers and administrators who are out there for this first week, thank you. Thank you so much for just running with it and just making it, for me personally, I felt like it was a smooth transition. My kids have been able to keep up with it. Also with us today is Katha Stuart, who is our board member. And Katha actually represents Alpharetta, Roswell, Mountain Park, and Milton. Katha, for me personally, I see you out there all the time, and this is before I actually, got to know you. So I know that you are on the front lines and you make yourself available. In fact, it's 4:00 on a Sunday, and you're here with me. So we have a lot to cover today. Let's first start with how I've noticed on your page, you're constantly giving updates on what's going on. So what are the latest numbers today?
Well, the latest numbers, the website that I've been going to from the Georgia Department of Public Health, they were posting an update every day at noon of how many confirmed cases there are in Georgia and how many deaths there have been. As of a couple of days ago, they now feel as if they need to update that twice a day, unfortunately. So they're updating it at noon and 7 p.m. every day. And as of noon today, there were 600 confirmed cases in Georgia and 23 deaths. Of those confirmed cases, 108 of them were in Fulton County. So those are the latest counts. At 7 p.m. tonight, they will update that information as well. And just to give you a perspective, the first day that they posted it was on March 14th. There were 64 confirmed cases and 1 death. So it is obviously gone up significantly. Yesterday at noon, there were 507 cases. So we're up almost 100 cases just since noon yesterday.
I mean, when you actually put those numbers out, it just kind of hits you and you realize that the severity of this, we're not just, at times I felt like it feels like we're on vacation because we're at home. But when you hear those numbers and you see what's being done, it's really heartbreaking. So
it really is. And if you consider too that those are just the confirmed cases. I think there are a lot more people who do have the virus and are either asymptomatic or just haven't been tested yet or what have you.
Right. So let's talk about what's going on behind the scenes. What is a school district doing on a daily basis? Like, how are you making the decisions? Where are you gathering information? How does all that work?
We have an executive team put together that Dr. Looney, our superintendent, put together. It's some of our executive staff, and they are basically a crisis team, and they are meeting on a very regular basis, several times a day, virtually. But they meet on a regular basis, and they speak very regularly with the governor's office, with the state school superintendent, Richard, as well as the Department of Public Health. So they are working with all of those entities and other superintendents as well and other authorities to inform them and to make some decisions about what's going on. So they are very regularly speaking to the governor's office and the state school superintendent.
Well, it just seems like, I guess we received the announcement last week. It's all my days are running together. But almost instantly, we were given a list of what to do, where to go, who to talk to, where the information was coming from. And so for parents, I felt like once we received the announcement, we started getting information in our inboxes of what our kids needed to do. What do you think about that? The transition of it all. It felt, seamless on our end. I don't know, I'm not talking to them. It have been.
You've heard that analogy, the duck with the flapping like crazy underneath. We knew a little bit before the public did that they would be closing our schools. We knew that there had been, as you know, we closed the first day on that Tuesday, I believe it was on Tuesday and Wednesday. Kids came back on Thursday, and then we closed for some period of time. But we were notified on that Monday morning that we had a staff member who had been diagnosed. So we found out at about lunchtime that we would be closing schools on that Tuesday. And then we did that, about 1 or 2 o'clock that afternoon. So things happened pretty quickly. Once the Department of Public Health notified us that we had a staff member down in one of our South Fulton schools who had been diagnosed. And frankly, there were a lot of people that thought that we may be overreacting by doing that. But I think in hindsight, those people would, don't feel that same way anymore. I think we were very proactive, but that was a good thing that we were proactive in making some decisions and moving very quickly and gathering data.
So what are you doing for people who may not feel like it was that smooth, or that they're still having some problems? Where do they turn to gather information and to get support at this time?
Well, I would recommend that if anybody's still having some issues, and we certainly still have some issues with our device distribution for kids that did not have a device at home, and we've been trying to work through those issues. If they are still having some issues, we will be making an announcement either later tonight or tomorrow morning about additional places. We're going to be broadening the number of locations where people can go to pick up devices and packets of information. And that information, I believe, will go out either tonight or tomorrow morning. And so there will be significantly more locations. So, because I know some people have had some issues being in line for a long time to try to get those devices. So we've had some technology issues to work through. But those things just happen. So we're working through those type things. But I would recommend that people reach out to their principals or to the teachers if it's a particular class. Reach out to your principals. Our principals and staff members have been unbelievable. They're the ones that have gotten us through this crisis.
No, I definitely appreciate ours. I appreciate that I can easily, even today, one of my daughter's social studies teacher had sent us an email that she, needed something in class. And it was just so nice to see how easy it is. You don't feel like you're so isolated.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, with the closing and the announcement came an avalanche of cancellations and closings and some confusion. I mean, the obvious things are the classes, but then you have, say, prom and graduation and driver's ed class. And, for us, it's sporting events and practices and all that.
SAT exams.
Yeah.
A little bit of everything. And what's really frustrating is that we don't know when things will be back to normal. There's really no sense of when. You can't reschedule something if you just don't know when we're going to be getting through this entire crisis. So yeah, there definitely been some challenges, but I think also it's an opportunity. I've seen some families spending some time together in the park when I've been out walking, and seeing just out in my cul-de-sac, the kids out playing, keeping their distance from one another, but out and about, getting a lot of fresh air, and seeing people playing with chalk on the sidewalk and their driveways. And I've seen lots of great ideas on Facebook and some of the groups that I'm in. So I think people are just doing things differently. And it's sad that things like prom, graduations, and what have you, we haven't canceled our graduations yet. I don't know if it'll come to that. A lot of the colleges have canceled their graduations, including my daughter's. But we're just doing the best that we can under the circumstances.
So I have a question right now from Michelle Richter. She's asking about kindergarten registration.
Oh, that's a good question. I don't have an answer for that, but I will find an answer for that. I'm sure that it has been discussed for amongst our executives, but we don't have information on that. I will make sure that information goes out. I'm sure I'll be talking to Dr. Looney either later tonight or sometime tomorrow morning. I know that we're going to be sharing information, so I'll make sure that information is included in that, in what goes out.
Okay, so if anyone out there, if you do have questions, Michelle, we will tag you when Katha gets that information to you. Yeah. And you're right.
Great question. That's something that I hadn't thought of, but I'm sure somebody has in the district.
Well, I know. I mean, we were thinking ahead to maybe summer, camps and summer break, and now you're having to look way ahead on
Right.
what's next. So you were mentioning that you have children. You have two daughters, right, in college.
Right, I do.
So what has happened with them? Are they back home? Are they able to stay?
They will be as of tomorrow. It's kind of an odd situation. I do have one that goes to Georgia Tech who is graduating this semester. So her graduation has been canceled. She's scheduled to graduate May 2nd and move out to Houston to work for Exxon. So, but her spring break, Georgia Tech spring break has been this past week. And she and a friend went, they drove out west and have been in all these national parks, just the two of them camping out. So they've been probably about as safe as anybody in the country has been. And then my younger daughter has taken a little bit of a break from the University of Georgia. She's been out in Estes Park, Colorado, working at a YMCA camp doing housekeeping. So she's been in a somewhat remote area too. But she got laid off from that job this week, and they actually are both headed home. They are about halfway home now. I just was checking where they were. And so they'll be home tomorrow. So I'll have a house full. So I'll have to go get more food. But I'm just looking forward to seeing them. But I think they've been probably in as safe and isolated areas as anybody has been. But we will continue with our social distancing as much as we possibly can.
So what happens with your classes and what's next? So say, for instance, we don't go back to school. For the students, whether you're a senior or not, what happens to the rest of the year? How does the grading, because I think I'm hearing some of my children talking to their friends, and they're all kind of speculating they're going to have to repeat, this year again, or they just get to move on. So what would you want to tell people?
Well, as you know, the federally and state mandated testing has been waived. We will not be doing any of that testing. So those are things that we don't have to worry about. I don't anticipate people, I'm sure our executives are looking at exactly how to make sure that the kids get the material that they need to have. Interestingly, I just saw something, somebody posted on Facebook about 30 minutes ago, and it was from when Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans. There were a lot of kids that pretty much missed the entire school year if they lived in that area, and it just wiped out their schools. And they said it seemed like a big deal at the time, but in retrospect, it was a big deal in their lives, but missing that amount of schoolwork was not as big of a deal as you may have thought, or as what you thought at the time. So it was just interesting for me to read that perspective, and that was a longer period of time than I think we're going to be talking about with this. Of course, it's very difficult to make any plans. Last week at our board meeting, Dr. Looney did say that we haven't made the decision yet, but we would not be a bit surprised if the governor does close the schools for a little bit longer. And currently, all schools in Georgia are shut down through March 31st. And that's next week. So we don't have any official word that it's going to go longer. But at this point, the way things look, we would not be a bit surprised if it goes longer. As you know, our spring break is scheduled for April 6th. So it could be that we're out. Obviously, we would be out for spring break, and then maybe another week or so. We just don't know at this point. And as soon as we make a decision, we will let everybody know. But I want to make it perfectly clear that in our board meetings, Dr. Looney made it clear to us that break, that spring break, we are not expecting people to be working on schoolwork that week. Granted, you can't really go anywhere, but we realize that our students and our staff members really need that break. So we're not taking away spring break. So we expect you to continue with your social distancing, but you're not going to be responsible for doing schoolwork during that week.
Okay.
That goes for staff and students.
So parents, if you're out there and you're thinking about what to do, this is a great time to be creative and,
right.
and celebrating that time together. So we do have another question from Melissa Wright. She is saying, how do administrators complete the grading, like pass, fail, and GPA calculations? That's a great question. And I think my kids are definitely concerned about that.
Right. And again, that's something that Dr. Looney will be working with our executives on. As a school board member, we really only determine policy, and that's a management issue, and that's what Dr. Looney and the principal all handle are the management issues of our schools. So can't really give an answer necessarily on that because that is a management issue. And I'm sure that there are lots of discussions going on right now, not just with our system, but with every system on how that will work. And I do know that Dr. Looney has been in several conference calls with other superintendents around the state as well. So I think we'll see some consistency around the state and around the nation with how they handle these type of situations. And I mentioned the SAT test a little while ago. They have canceled the SAT test, which is very challenging if you've got a child who's sophomore or junior in high school and planning to go to college. So they're trying to figure out how to address that. And with AP exams, they just announced last week, I believe on Friday, if you are in an AP class, they will be given the AP exam. Not supposed to touch my face. They will be given the AP exam. You'll be taking it at home online, and the test will only be through the material that was covered up to a certain time period. I believe it was a week before last. That's my understanding. That's the decision that the college. That was not our decision. That's the decision that the college board has made. So I'm sure they'll be sharing that with all students that are in AP classes.
Yeah, Melissa is saying that students are beginning to stress about the grading, and I get it. I mean, but I feel that the administration has been very fair. So hopefully, kids won't be penalized. I don't think anyone's going to be penalized because of what's going on.
Absolutely, we'll not be penalizing students. We know that they're working hard at home. I've seen some great work going on. They're just doing it in a different fashion. Again, our teachers and administrators have been incredibly creative in their solutions. And frankly, we as a board for the last 2, 3, 4 years have been saying we need to be ready for this digital learning experience. We've got to get there. And frankly, we just haven't been there. It's one of those things that all of a sudden we were forced into it and we've made it happen. But I really shouldn't say we. It's been our principals and our staff members who've made it happen. They have jumped in and they've made this happen. So it will be interesting to me to see what education is like. Well, I think our world, after this experience, our world is going to be a different world. Education in particular is going to be very, very different. It'll be, I just wish I could look out 3 years from now and see where we'll be with the state of education at that point.
Well, being forced into it, I feel like it's been a good start. I did see a question on another page that I follow that parents were asking about attendance, if attendance has been monitored or if that counts at all the grade levels.
No, and there's an issue with there's always the question of attendance with regard to exam exemptions and all that. No attendance issues. Attendance will not be taken into consideration when it comes to exemptions at all whatsoever. That was very it was important to Dr. Looney that be the case, and we all talked about that. And it was one of the first things I said when we realized we were in this situation. I said we've got to make sure that these families know, because we have different situations from one school to the next, and we needed to be consistent that we were not going to be holding attendance issues against our students.
Well, thank you for confirming that. I was reading, and this is the problem with the, social media. Sometimes everyone chimes in and we don't know what's fact or fiction,
Right.
and we appreciate that. So, I know we cannot predict you said predict what's going to happen next or how long this is going to be. And I know that, sometimes we're joking about it. We see all the funny memes with parents who are working with their kids from home, and we really truly appreciating our teachers. So do you have any advice for parents who are at home just like, oh my goodness, how am I going to do all of this? Because, some schools had their spring break already. And so now this is like full on this.
Right. We're in here. We're doing this.
Right. Any advice?
Well, it's been interesting this past week seeing how positive everybody has been. The comments that I've had and what I've seen out, I've helped at Mimosa Elementary School with the device distribution and with the food distribution 2 different days. And everybody's been so positive and so encouraging, and everybody's working together. But I also realize that the novelty is going to be wearing off. We're a week into this. We're a week into what could be an extended period of time. And so that novelty is going to be wearing off. So some patience is probably going to be running thin. So I would just encourage everybody to show some grace, show a lot of patience, and understand that we're all in this situation, and it's certainly unprecedented. There's nothing we can do to just fix it. Whether you're talking about the school system, the governor, or anybody else, nobody can just fix this right now. So just be as patient as possible. Share the good ideas. Share your celebrations, and be patient with one another.
That's a great way to end it. And we thank you for your patience and your grace also answering these questions. And parents, if you're out there and you do need help, feel free to reach out to the school board. Feel free to reach out to Katha. I think that, you have all been pretty open about what's going on and providing information. And I think, all of us are just trying to figure it out as well.
Okay.
So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Feel free to reach out to me. My email, my school email is Stuart K. It's STUARTK @fultonschools.org, or you can find me on Facebook. And just, don't hesitate. If it's something that I don't have an answer to, I will certainly find somebody who does have an answer.
All right. We'll get that kindergarten registration answer hopefully this week from you too. Okay.
I'm going to send an email right now.
Right. We're going to put her information on this post as well. I'm going to update that for you. And parents, get ready for week 2. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.